It is day 239 of the second Trump administration, and this evening we are tracking important developments after the murder of Charlie Kirk. Today, Vice President J.D. Vance hosted Kirk's podcast, bringing several members of the administration on as a tribute. And the president is expected to attend Kirk's memorial in Arizona this coming Sunday. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson has been arrested for allegedly shooting and killing the conservative influencer last week. Formal charges against Robinson are expected to come tomorrow. My colleague Morgan Chesky has those details.
Tonight, a chilling portrait emerging of the suspect police say assassinated Charlie Kirk. The Washington Post reports, citing two people familiar and a screenshot. He appeared to confess in an online group chat before turning himself in, writing, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this." The FBI director revealing two pieces of evidence had the suspect's DNA, a towel wrapped around the murder weapon, and a screwdriver found on the roof, saying the suspect had a hatred of Kirk.
His family has collectively told investigators that he subscribed to left-wing ideology, and he had a text message exchange, he the suspect, with another individual, in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for.
The FBI now investigating if anyone had information before the shooting and did not tell authorities. President Trump was asked if the suspect worked alone.
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you he didn't work alone on the internet, because it seems that he became radicalized on the internet.
Here at Utah County Jail, authorities say that Tyler Robinson is now on a special watch status, meaning even closer supervision, adding he'll stay there until passing a mental health evaluation.
The FBI saying they're also speaking to his roommate, who authorities say he was romantically involved with.
We can confirm that that roommate is a boyfriend who is transitioning from male to female, so we know that piece. I will say that that person has been very cooperative with authorities.
While the arrow symbols on one of the suspect's alleged inscriptions on unfired rounds, which follows the message, "Hey fascist, catch," may be related to controller moves to drop bombs in the video game Helldivers 2.
With that, let's get smarter with the help of our leadoff panel tonight. Peter Baker joins us, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times. Philip Bump is here, former Washington Post columnist, and McKay Coppins is a staff writer at The Atlantic. All right, Peter, this awful crime exposed just how deep the political divide runs in our country. Why has this hit home so deeply and revealed so much?
Well, look, Charlie Kirk was a particularly popular figure on the right, particularly popular among young people who turned out in large numbers to see him. I think to see an assassination in such a public way on a college campus, with the whole idea is a free and open exchange of ideas, thousands of people there watching it in front of them. It's a particularly horrific moment, a particularly horrific scene. It's also, I think, struck a nerve because a lot of people on the right feel that they have been targeted. The president, of course, himself was the target of 2 assassination attempts last year. When you listen to the people in the White House talk about this, they talk about it very personally. They knew Charlie Kirk. They considered him a friend. The president, even compared him to being like another son. J.D. Vance had tied himself very closely to Charlie Kirk. So this has been a personal thing for them. But I think it also has been a moment that's crystallized this divide that you're talking about, because I think that they have in the White House, made clear that they see this as a one-sided problem. This is a problem of left-wing violence.
On what grounds are they saying that, seeing that, yes, unfortunately, our president experienced not 1 but 2 assassination attempts, but prior to Charlie Kirk, we lost a Minnesota lawmaker, her husband, and another lawmaker in that same state?
Absolutely, absolutely, and of course, Josh Shapiro, the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania, his house was put on fire. Obviously, Paul Pelosi, the husband of Nancy Pelosi, was attacked viciously, and of course, January 6th violence. Where the president of the United States himself, addressed a mob of supporters that then went and ransacked the Capitol. So clearly, if you look at the record of just the last few years, there's plenty of violence to go around the political spectrum. But they have decided this is a moment to focus on left-wing violence. Now, the question, of course, that a lot of people on the left are asking is that a predicate for a political repression? The talk out of the White House seems ominous to people who are not seeing words of calm, but words of war. Steve Bannon told me over the weekend the left has declared war on America, and Trump is a wartime president.
Well, let's talk about other words that came out of the White House today. J.D. Vance, as I just said, hosted Charlie Kirk's podcast at the White House, from the White House, and sort of previewed what the administration is thinking about in the wake of this assassination. And he also urged people, I want to lay this out for our audience, he urged people who are listening to notify their employers if they see posts appearing to mock Kirk or celebrate his death. If any of their fellow employees did so, that people should report it to their boss or their HR departments. And we've already seen firings. Philip, what do you think about this? Especially given that what Charlie Kirk has been most honored for is freedom of speech.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole separate discussion. The extent to which that captures what it was that he was.
But I'm just
to do.
saying,
But
even
I
those who say they don't support Charlie Kirk's political views, but they did support, his right to freedom of speech.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. It is impossible to escape the hypocrisy of the Republican Party that spent years back into Donald Trump's first term in office, claiming that social media was out to get them, that conservatives were the subject of these often secret and hard to articulate efforts to try and suppress their speech, how they were going to be the free speech warriors. We saw a number of Republican legislators advocate for and pass legislation that was focused ostensibly on free speech, that now they are the ones that are embracing this idea, this, what can very easily be called cancel culture. What Adam Serwer, writing for The Atlantic last year, pointed out was sort of creating this snitch state, was what he described it as, and using people who are angry and who are partisan and who are polarized to do the work that the government shouldn't do, which is, suppressing speech, by calling out people. We heard Vance say that today. You should be out there. You guys should be the ones policing this and talking to employers and getting people in trouble, which is basically extending the arm of the state to some extent by calling for that to happen. And it is a remarkable deviation from the rhetoric that they've been doing. I mean, I don't know that rhetoric was ever entirely sincere, but it's staggering to see the shift that's occurred just in the past.
But just think back to when Mark Zuckerberg sort of took his turn and moved further to the right. One of his biggest complaints was how the Biden administration pushed them on the content they were allowed to have on their platforms, how they were allowed to speak about vaccines, and that we needed to be advocates for freedom of speech. And now look where we are. McKay, what do you make of what we heard from the VP, from other administration officials today, and even in the last few days, and sort of where this administration is headed?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's clear that the administration is very upset. These figures in the administration are very upset about this murder, understandably so. Some also sense a political opportunity here to get as much out of this tragedy as possible in terms of punishing their enemies. And I mean, look, I should say, I do think it's really ghoulish that some people responded to this murder by celebrating it or mocking him, and that did happen. But it's also the case that to have the Vice President of the United States telling his supporters, number in the many millions, that they should be actively rooting out people who are saying negative things online or going too far in their criticism according to what standard we don't know, and reporting them to their employers, that's not, that's new terrain that we're in, right?
Okay, but
I would also
McKay,
just rephrase.
Call me naive, but what about the political opportunity to bring the country together?
And you do see some Republicans, for example, like Utah Governor Spencer Cox, trying to seize that opportunity, right? To say that, look, this should be a wake-up call for all of us, regardless of party, regardless of political affiliation, that we have to pull our country back from the brink, that we are in a very dangerous spiral. And I will say that I actually think a lot of Trump supporters are responding to that rhetoric. We're going to focus on the loudest voices on both sides, the angriest voices on both sides. And this is a very angry moment in our politics. But I have also seen a lot of people responding to what Spencer Cox and people like him are saying. It's just unfortunate that it doesn't appear that the people at the very highest levels of our government seem especially focused on that project right now.
Peter, what else are we missing? What are we in store for here?
Yeah, I think to McKay's point is exactly right. There have always been loud voices in American politics that say, divisive things, right? But typically you don't hear them from the White House. Typically what you hear from the White House, Republican or Democrat, are presidents in moment of crisis trying to calm things down, calm the waters, lower the temperature, all those cliches. And instead here you've got a president who likes to raise the temperature, who in fact, increases the flames. He's talked about the radical left lunatics. And the question is, okay, well, what does he mean with that when he says that? Remember last year during the campaign, he talked about the enemy from within. That we need to go after the enemy from within. They are the real threat to America, not Russia or China. Well, who is he talking about here? When he talks about radical left lunatics, is he talking about people who actually pick up a gun and commit violence? That would be one thing. A lot of people would agree with that, obviously, that people like that need to be pursued. But they're talking about going after organizations. And in the context of some of this discussion, he has mentioned, for instance, George Soros of the Open Society Forum, and one of the most favorite targets of the right. Well, what does that mean? How is George Soros responsible for this lone gunman in Utah who seems to have no connection to any other organization? Any law enforcement authorities have told us about it so far, right? And the question then becomes is what are you defining? And Philip talked about this too. How do you define what you consider to be acceptable or not? What are you saying what organization is responsible for violence and in what way, and what would you do to them if you did decide that they were?